Okay, we're back. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and start with Mayor. Please go ahead and identify yourself.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Senators. Thank you for having this oversight hearing. My name is Francis Lizama, the Jigo Mayor of, and also I want to be very brief. I want to thank you for this oversight because it gives a better understanding to the residents of what GWA, EPA, and Public Health has been doing. And I have to say that in a short period of time, we're talking about a month and a half, GWA has progressed in mitigating this situation. They've been working very diligently and expeditiously to get the interim treatment going. It's online, however, of course, pending EPA lift of the order. And, you know, we're here to support the agencies to get over this situation. And yes, I understand the concerns of the residents. However, you know, working with GWA on a daily, they have really come a long ways. And again, we're here to support the agencies. Like I did mention to, thank you to Mr. Bedelio, who did his presentation at the Mayor's Council meeting. He explained details as to as far back as 2012, and now I understand a little bit more of what's been going on. And it's not that they weren't doing anything, it's they were already in the process of trying to mitigate the issue. And you know, I want to thank them for that. And again, you know, they've been working very hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And that's what these hearings are about as well, because like yourselves, our offices have been inundated with calls as well, and we don't have the answers. We have some answers, but we want to get the up-to-date answers, and that's why we didn't call the public hearing immediately after, because we knew that information, you know, was coming in almost on a daily basis, and that to call the oversight immediately after this notice went out, the information would be very, very raw and no information. We have more information now than we did than when we first had the community gathering in Jigo, and that's why we're going to continue this oversight as well into December, and hopefully by again, some of the questions that were asked today, and some of the I'm sure the concerns of the residents, maybe by then we'll have even more answers and more corrective measures will be in place by then. Okay? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Conchita?
Thank you, Senator. My name is, for the record, my name is Conchita Taitano. I am a longtime resident of Jigo, and my home is, actually 3 of my homes are within the impacted area. I live in one. I also provide support for my disabled brother in the other house, and then the other is supporting my nephew. Senator Matanani asked me this question, there's the few of us back there, the question whether or not whether the residents were satisfied with the responses from GWA and Guam EPA. And what I wanted to say is it was predictable, almost woefully predictable. And I expected them to say what they said. The point of the matter is we had a town meeting, and I'm trying very hard not to go back to the past. But I think the people who are listening in need to understand that the progress that has been made today was because we made them do it. Because when we had the town meeting, they had nothing, not even a sign-in sheet. No consideration of those who English is not their first language. It did not consider, as I think it was one of the Nelson family members said, you know, was there even any consideration about the people who live in Gil Breeze? They're probably one of the most economically insecure families or communities in the impacted area. They had handouts that were probably written in 9 font. Who would it can read that? I mean, some of I had to really study it hard to finally read some of that information. They had no visuals. They came with nothing. And that really bothered me, because when you do a town meeting, you're doing more than just informing, especially if you knew that this was a long-standing issue. What I expected was come in and say, we know this has happened, this is what we're doing. But that didn't happen. They said, well, we want to hear from you. And everybody came up and talked about cancer. Everybody had, I mean, I don't know what percentage of the community members came in talking about cancer. Some guy said all of his horses died from cancer. Another community member talked about, well, what about the uptake in the agriculture, you know, the stuff that I grow and I sell over there at the Dededo market. Well, somebody from agriculture said, well, there is an uptake. There's a percentage of uptake. And we're like, oh my goodness. Another woman talked about, you know, I cook kadu and I provide that for the lasajo or the matais. Oh, well, you can't cook that out. This is different. This is not E. coli. You can't boil that stuff out, all right? Another gentleman talked about, what does that mean for the value of our property? Because he rents to the military. And there is an expectation that he provide clean water, you know, to the people he rents. So that happened on a Thursday, okay? And I walked into that thoughts a sign-in sheet. Tell me that. We even asked, is there going to be a next meeting? I mean, the fact that there was a question asked, well, why was it a town meeting? Because the mayor asked. You would have thought that they would have come earlier, at least to let us know, so that way we could at least prepare ourselves. Tell us early enough so we don't use that water to brush our teeth. But they didn't do that. They said, well, because of the regulations. I said, okay, I understand that, but you still had an interim action level. You could have told us. You could have, as I always said, but that didn't happen. So then the next day, obviously, you know, my nephew is a neighbor. Toda familia in that area. So Leven Camacho issued that letter out demanding that there be an action plan on a Monday. And from there, then we started seeing things happen. So am I glad some things are happening? Absolutely. But let's make it very clear. They came in with nothing, not even a plan. They didn't even talk about a temporary or an interim GAC. Thoughts that? Only afterwards. There was no sense of urgency, and that's the thing that bothers me, senators. Where was the sense of urgency? Maybe because nobody in this table, on that table, that first round, had kids going to UPI, drinking that water. So if their kids were going to UPI and they knew that their kids were drinking that water, do you honestly think they would be taking it easy? No. Because they don't know. But Senator Matanani, you understand because you're a resident, and I don't know what school your child goes to, but let me tell you, if they go to UPI Elementary, what does that mean? Then I'm hearing, oh, they were able to shut, you know, other wells. I said, okay, well, I guess Y15, you know, it's too bad for us. So that sense of urgency, at least to let us know, there's got to be something in the law that requires or demands these agencies to notify us, especially looking at the health effects. Everybody kept saying, oh, you know, I'm being carcinogen, you know, they only did it with animals. I said, well, I hope they didn't experiment with humans. But you would think that there's a reason for it. It's a banned pesticides. It's banned. It's bad for you. So I'm hoping the legislature will require, don't just say transparent, but more reporting, immediate reporting, so that way help the people help themselves, so we don't brush our teeth using that water. And that's all I'm saying. I'm glad to see that they're looking at point of entry systems. I'm looking at, and I know that they're looking at putting it in place, but when is that gonna happen? Did I get the information from Guam EPA? Well, thank God somebody from GIGO forwarded that to me, so that I was able to, I'm one of the 80 that signed in, but it's like, so what next? Oh, they're still working on procurement. And my attitude is like, well, you're an autonomous agency. You don't have to go through DOA and BBMR and everybody else? How long could, when is this going to happen? When can we avail ourselves to these systems for the point of entry? Or at least, when are they going to start doing the assessment? Because that's what the notice was that I got via email. We're going to send somebody out to do the assessment. Okay, so while you're waiting for your procurement, shouldn't you at least be doing the assessment so you can facilitate the process to get these things deployed? So communication is one. And the second thing is, you know, and I understand that the permanent solution is not going to be for the summer. I'm glad they were able to, they were able to do an interim, because that was not on the table when they came to GIGO. But at least get something going with people who need it right away, especially individuals who have a sensitivity to chemicals. We're talking octarians. I got several octarians in my family with health conditions already. I know a family member that had to go and out of their pocket. I know, because they're Vicino down the road. They had to go and spend $3,100 or $3,200. And the first thing I asked was, did you make sure it was at least NSF 53? They weren't even sure, but they know, because Guy Malango na familia, there was somebody sick, you know, very sick, and they needed to do something. I know somebody from Santa Rosa had to do the same thing. And this is all before Guam EPA came out with, you know, what type of filter they needed to use. And so, you know, again, communication and getting these devices deployed as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Daito. Mr. Martinez.
You know, just so I can know the extent of my write-up here, may I ask the officials here from, was Okinawa ever, has there been any increase with Okinawa with regards to this issue, since this is still, you know, an ongoing situation with Okinawa, with Dildren? And if I might ask that.
Go ahead and identify yourself first, and then.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, a shared responsibility. Today, our local government, the U.S. military, and our island community are all looking for answers to the troubling discovery of a toxic contamination near one of Guam's military bases. Unfortunately, what could be an opportunity for cooperation has turned into a growing cycle of blame. The local government accused of silence and the U.S. military denying responsibility. Rather than focus on blame, this is the time for unity and understanding. The discovery of Dildren on Guam raises serious questions that deserve open discussion and joint investigation. While we have not yet determined the cause, it is important to recognize that similar contamination has been documented in Okinawa for following years of military and industrial use. By studying those cases, we can better understand how such pollutants persist, how they were once handled, and what steps can now be taken to safely contain and remediate them. When Okinawan citizens came to Guam, they warned us about poison water. They talked about cultural loss, and they talked about social burdens. The second time they came to Guam, they again warned us about the poisoned water. And there was even, from what I understand, some meetings with public officials regarding poisoned water. That was always the main issue, is poisoned water. They told us their story, so we would not repeat it. Today, we're already seeing these warnings come true. Dildren, a banned pesticide, has now been found in water reservoir outside one of Guam's military base. And just as one of our wells is being cleared for us, 2 more from the neighboring villages are now being shut down due to contamination concerns. This mirrors Okinawa's own experience. And then, from what I understand, there's some evidence now that within the various areas within the Camp Blas, that there's evidence again of of the contaminant dieldrin. Now, before I go on these points here, I do want to qualify that this information is publicly available from the Okinawa media and government sources, and it is also on the national, on the national registrar, where these things can be drawn as public record. And they can be read in full detail from the cited media links above for anyone wishing to learn more. And for your information, dieldrin is poison, and it's very highly toxic. In 2015, the Ryuko Simple reported that the U.S. military documents revealed pesticides such as dieldrin caused a massive fish kill along the coast of Camp Kensar improper disposal for improper disposal practices. This was in the national news. In 2023, the Okinawa Times reported that the soil contamination near return-basis lands contained dioxins and dieldrin levels exceeding both U.S. and Japanese safety standards. These revelations are consistent with broader surveys reporting. In 2019, the Mainichi report reported toxic chemicals in Okinawa Springs near bases at concentration 28 times the EPA's safety threshold. In 2021, Asahi Shimbun reported that the U.S. military in Okinawa discharged contaminated wastewater into local sewers without approval, sparking outrage among Okinawan officials. Most recently, to 2025, the Okinawa Prefecture government survey confirmed that dieldrin, DDT, chlorinate, and other banned pesticides were detected at every single site tested around returned or returned planned U.S.-based areas. The military buildup on Guam may not be the cause, but the recently discovered contamination serves as a powerful reminder of how important environmental and management and historical accountability must be as our island continues to grow. This moment gives us the chance to learn from Okinawa's experience, review how hazardous materials were handled in the past, and establish preventive safeguards for the future. Through joint investigations and transparent communication, Guam can turn this concern into an opportunity for better protection of our people and environment. Let this be the time when Guam, the U.S. military, and the federal government face the issue together, not in denial or blame shifting, but in joint responsibility and decisive action. Now, one other thing that must be checked here, okay, is that it's such easy information to acquire. All you got to do is Google it, and it'll tell you also that dieldrin is a sleeper. Basically, what that means is that it is a poison that has a lifetime of between 30 to 40 years. But when it's disturbed, it activates itself. It's something similar to, asbestos. Sometimes it's better to be left alone. You disturb it, it gets rained on, it seeps back into the ground, it activates itself, and it goes back into the system and into the water wells. Now, the thing here is that, honestly, we're all to blame here, okay? Or actually not all to blame, but we're all responsible for it. Because dieldrin is pretty widely used here. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, not too long ago, even after it was banned, there were some foreign companies that were using this because it's effective, and nobody thought to the extent or just how poison this chemical is, but it is widely also used in construction for for substrate, under the substrate of when after you build, before you support your foundation. But other than that, like I said again, this is a shared responsibility, and rather than to be silenced and what, and maybe the easy way to do this is that again, I have to turn around. If I might ask, has there been any inquiries with Okinawa, on this, that maybe they might have some easy answers? I mean, it's an ongoing issue right now, from what I understand. As a matter of fact, you can Google it, and it's ongoing. It's an issue with Okinawa. Maybe we might look into it, and maybe you can join in how to solve this, because from what I understand, we have a problem. And this is not, I don't believe that this is just up to where the military base is. I think this is pretty widespread around the island. And how can we control it, and what's the best way, for the safety? And further into this, that I don't want to look into it anymore. I really don't. But dieldrin is poison. And dieldrin is a very active nerve degenerative contaminant. And this is some of the maybe the unanswered, not actually cancer, but cancer-related systems here that are still being, being tested, because it is prevalent here in Guam, and it's extremely prevalent in Okinawa, from what I understand. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Martinez, could you just identify yourself again? Okay.
My name is John Martinez, and I normally sign my articles as the director of GITA, but today I'm just signing it by myself. And after making this comment for my next trip, I hope they don't confiscate my bill in customs.
We'll make sure that doesn't happen. Did you want one? Okay.
I forgot to add, I believe that the suggestion offered by public health to do cancer tracing, or the do the cancer markers, especially for women. And as a woman, I hope they get support to do that work that's needed. And the last thing I'd like to ask, Senator, is that if there's an opportunity, por favor, if you could have the public hearing in the village of Jigo, then you would probably get more residents, more opinions, more than what you have here. I mean, like I said, during that town meeting, there was a number of people who were there, and that didn't even constitute even one-fourth of the residents that are impacted. So I hope you take that into consideration. Come to Jigo a day and have the hearing there, and listen to the residents and their concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senator, if you don't mind, if I might just add, I was hoping that somebody would be with me here that would remain anonymous, where I got some of these information. But I do have to extend this, that the officials over at Public Health and the people that were involved here and the concerns that arose from this, I think that Guam is going to be cited as doing an excellent job on the way this is being handled. It's only because of limited resources, and maybe there's got to be some support from here. But dieldrin is definitely a problem. Dieldrin is definitely a poison.
Thank you very much for that. And Conchita, thank you very much for that suggestion. We'll definitely take, seriously consider that once we get all the information as well. That way we're better informed regarding this, and likewise given the opportunity, of course, for the agencies to gather even more information, most especially from their federal partners. And we know with the federal shutdown, we're hoping that none of that information lags. But we don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know. I think they voted today, and they still didn't come to a continuing resolution, right? So, with that being said, I want to thank all who have participated in today's joint oversight hearing, our agency heads, of course, our technical expert, colleagues, and members of the public who took time to share their perspectives. What we heard today, of course, reflects the magnitude of this issue. The presence of dieldrin in our waters are not merely a technical concern, it is a community concern. It affects every household, every school, every business, every resident of this island. The discussions held today must translate into action. The legislature expects continued collaboration between GWA, GEPA, DPHSS, and of course coming in as well on the second will be Department of Ag, to ensure that clear and updated information is shared with the public in a timely manner. Follow-up testing and data are made transparent. Long-term remediation plans are implemented and monitored, and the people's confidence in their government's ability to protect them is restored. Our people deserve a government that acts swiftly, communicates openly, and responds decisively when their health and safety are at risk. Let this hearing serve as a beginning of a renewed effort, one that prioritizes, of course, coordination, communication, and accountability. To the people of Guam, we hear your concerns, and we will continue to pursue this issue until we are confident, until we can confidently say that our water is safe, your government is transparent, and your families are protected. With that being said,
Senator, may I?
Yes.
So I know a while back I did request for a follow-up town hall meeting.
Yes.
It was just a matter of collaboration between the agencies.
Okay.
I have not gotten a return date as to when that follow-up town hall meeting.
At town hall, who did you request that with?
With GWA.
GWA, okay.
Yes. And understanding that the GM is off island, I know they're still trying to collaborate with all the agencies involved.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Well, I mean, and we'll follow up on that as well to make sure that you get a date with that with that again, because we have a date for our hearing as well.
Yes,
Okay. With that, with Susan Mossy again, for everyone to join us today. The time is now 1:36, and this joint oversight hearing is hereby recessed until December 2nd, 2025 at 2 p.m. right here in this public hearing room. Thank you very much. We stand recessed. Thank you.